I do not mind. That's great. Rock and roll. So you're on.
Okay, I don't know what coaches would say that, run the midline, but I've been running the midline since probably 96 or 97. And there's several different ways to run it, but I think the way that's the simplest and easiest to teach is to make it a double option. It's a dive or a quarterback keep. You can run a triple out of it. Some spread teams like to run triple option off of the midline, but we've had the most success of just running the double option dive quarterback keep. And basically, if you start with the inside veer, okay, we're going to dive right behind the guard and option the first guy outside of that, or first guy 4 or wider. That was our rule, right? Outside veer, we're going to dive over the tackle and option the first guy over the tight end. Okay? Well, on the midline, we're going straight up that other center and option the first guy at the guard or wider.
Okay.
Okay, so really, we can read anybody from a 2 technique all the way out, depending on what play we call.
Okay.
Okay, and our simple rule that we try to use is if a guy's hard to block, he's easy to read. In other words, if he's a stud,
Right.
he's easy to read. We want to read aggressive guys. If they're easy to block, they're hard to read. Okay, so if you got a guy that's not so good, it's kind of slow, the quarterback has a hard time reading guys that just stand there.
Right.
Then we want to knock those guys off the ball. And so that's kind of how we basically decide whether we want to option somebody or not, is using our splits and determining who is the most dangerous guy on that line, who's the guy we cannot handle, okay, from a personnel standpoint. So anyway, we go
So
from
inside veer midline, if that's the right word, versus inside veer triple option.
well, it's just midline option.
Right.
That's what I call it.
Okay, but
It's just either
Inside
inside
veer,
veer, outside veer, or midline. Those are the 3 plays.
so I guess I'm sorry. So the difference. So midline, you're reading somebody different than if you call
Yes.
inside veer.
Well, our
You're
rule's
reading-
different. Ultimately, you could be reading the same guy,
Okay.
but we don't read, when we run inside veer, the first guy we would read would be on the tackle,
Right.
okay? If there's no one on the tackle, then it would work its way out.
Correct.
On the midline, the first guy we would read would be on the guard.
Okay.
And if there's no one over the guard, then we'd go to the next guy,
I got you.
next spot out.
So
No
midline-
matter alignment inside.
No matter, I mean, I can draw all the different fronts up there, and as soon as you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I got you.
So I don't know what front you want me to put up
Do I
there?
smell bad or something?
What's that?
I can't sit between you and the thing.
It's just I smell better.
Oh.
I'm not really
Not
enamored
that you're
with
bad.
I'm really not enamored with either.
I don't know if you got any other pens, but these seem to be.
Coach has got a bag there,
Yeah.
probably.
I didn't bring the
This
bag
one's
with
really
me.
good.
That one really good.
I don't know.
Is there any in that?
This one's okay, it's just.
Nah, that one's.
Okay, anyway, we'll make it work. Okay, so let's
Check
put an eagle front up there, because that's, okay, eagle no mic, and for you guys that weren't here before, okay, we have terminology which allows us to draw up our defense, and everybody should understand. Okay, on the midline, thank you. On the midline, reading the first guy 2 or wider, so if we're looking to the right here, we're going right, we would call that, in our terminology, we call it 10. You can call it whatever you want, but we call it 10. Okay, so our fullback's diving straight up the gut. We're reading this guy, okay, and it's a dive or quarterback keep, so it's a double option for us, okay? The 10 is double option. Okay, so our quarterback steps, and I don't coach quarterbacks, and I really don't get involved too much in that. But it is real important here, and I'm always harping on our quarterback coaches. We gotta get separation from the line of scrimmage and get out of the midline, okay? So we wanna almost hop back here like this to give our quarterback some room, and then we're riding to the front hip, straight up the gut, and we're looking right at that 3 technique, okay? And then we're gonna take a lateral step. We don't wanna step up into the line because it's easy for that 3 technique to get a piece of both of us if we do that. We wanna step lateral this way, and then we wanna get up and run the alley. So let's look at the blocking. First of all, this is the easiest play we have in our offense to teach. We can teach this in one day with no problem, and the guys understand the blocking. But we're always going to hinge block right here. Basically, what our backside tackle is going to do is he's going to step down into the B gap and then turn. He's going to block the most dangerous threat. So we don't know what these guys are going to do. So whoever's coming, we're going to block the most dangerous. Okay. So that's how we determine, okay, if it's the opposite way, okay, then we pick up the 5 technique, okay? But that's an easy block. It doesn't take much athletic ability at all. And we're all good there. If we go to the play side tackle, we're just gonna turn out the 5 technique. Okay, we do some things where we like to block the 5 technique or try to hook him to get outside, and if he's a guy that we just can't hook, this is a great play because it just sets that block up real easy. Okay? And then our center is going to block base to backside. So he's going to deliver that 1 technique to the guard, okay? And then he may get up there, but because we got an eagle front here, we don't have to get up there real quick because this guy's gonna end up there, okay? And then the last part of this is we're usually gonna do some kind of short motion and block this guy for the quarterback, okay? So our quarterback's steps are here like this. We're gonna step laterally. If this guy comes down on the dive, okay, then we're running it right up in there like that. It's not always as pretty as I'm drawing it up on the board. We don't have to go in motion from this guy back here, but we also run what I call 10 max. And what we can do is we can, at the snap of the ball, go here in pitch phase, which is just nothing more than a decoy, okay? Because we are not going to pitch it on this play. Okay, or we can call 10 max, okay, and on 10 max, he's gonna come here and get that backer there. Because the play is kind of slow developing, he can get there without going in motion, okay?
So the right slot back, RZ, doesn't go, he is in motion or he's not in motion?
It just depends on where you want to line him up. Okay, if you want to line him up wide, then you got a motion. If you want to keep him in tight, that's up to you. Whatever it takes to get him there. You know, it's kind of like saying, how wide do you want your split? Well, how talented is your kid? How athletic is he? How much ground can he cover to get there? Because he has to get there. Okay.
Now, this thing that where you bring this backside slot back on the outside B,
Yeah.
10 max can't be both a pitch phase and a lead. So do you call that something different?
I just call it 10 max.
Okay, so
If
what
I
do you,
if I want to call it regular, I just call 10.
and on 10, that backside
He
guy
goes
is
in
going to
pitch.
go in pitch phase, but
Yeah.
you're not going to pitch it to him.
No.
Blocking that three, coach, reading the three.
We're reading the three.
Right, you reading him regardless of his alignment, if he's a one.
Well,
Two
we're
or
not,
three?
we're not talking about a one right now. First of all, we're not gonna probably run the midline if there's a one technique. Now, I've done it, but you gotta do some other things, so let's not put the cart before the horse here. We're just talking, right now, we're talking about an eagle front, a two or a three technique,
Okay.
okay? So, anybody got any questions on that? These guys here, they're either gonna stalk or run their guy off, depending on whether it's man to man or cover three. Okay, right there, I got it drawn up like cover three, so we're just gonna stalk them.
So essentially on the straight up 10, the midline, the backside slot back there goes in motion just as strictly a decoy. And only if you call.
Yeah, but he's not in we're not
They're
setting
not
him in motion, he's
but
just gonna take off that
It
way.
takes off at the snap.
Yeah.
Otherwise, on a.
I
on a
personally,
max,
most of the time when I run this, I call 10 max.
You call max, okay.
So on max though, are you putting him in motion to get him so he can turn up
I'm
in
not
front?
doing I'm not doing anything before the snap of the ball, okay? I'm just getting him to here. I mean, if you look in the old days, I think it was like late 90s, 96, 97, Nebraska had like 3 national championships in a row. They ran midline from the eye, and all he did was, he did that same block from right there. It's the same thing.
Well, we can't have two guys in motion, so.
Yeah.
It's
And, but
in motion.
that's the good thing, is we don't need him to be in motion to get him there. He can get there from there, okay? And if he's having trouble getting there, then just tighten him down, okay? But if you put him in motion to get him there and tighten him down, I mean, you do what you have to do to get those guys in position to make their blocks, okay? The biggest thing is taking a big split, okay? This particular front, we know our guard doesn't have to block any down man over the center because there isn't one. So he can take a huge split. He can take a 4-foot split there. I've had my tackle take a 5-6 foot split. Okay, so you know, if this guy took a 4-foot split, all of a sudden this guy jumped into like an inside shade on that guard, it wouldn't matter. We're reading him anyhow. Okay. So, you know, you can mess around with your splits. You can make this split wide.
If he does take it, if you do go that wide and he does take an inside shade, does that change the course of the guard's path to make his block though? Or would?
Well, we want to try to get inside of him, but if he really comes down in tight, then we're just going to chicken wing him and go outside.
Okay.
So let's say he stemmed down in here like this. Okay, then I'm just going to. We talked a little bit about chicken wing.
Yeah, we did.
We're just going to take that same step, but I'm just going to bump him on the way by. You know, quarterback knows if that guy goes to one technique, he's pulling it. He's
Right.
going to ride it and pull it right now. So
Right.
nothing's really any different. So. Okay, so, you know, whether we run Eagle no mic or Eagle mic, blocking is all basically the same. So let's put an odd front up there. 50, I forget what we called it when I was here. I apologize for that, but we did something like this. Yeah. And that's just a 50 front. Okay. We got a hinge here. He's blocking most dangerous. That's pretty tough. If that guy's in a 4, he's got to really be on that, okay? The tackle is going to block out on the number 2 man on the line of scrimmage, not counting the nose, okay? So he's blocking here. There's our read right there, okay? We're going to deliver this 0 technique. Go to the backside backer. We're going to deliver the 0 technique. Go to the backside backer. Okay, fullback's coming right up the middle. He's gonna cut off the nose. Nose is basically getting triple teamed. It's kind of like a red bear cap block. In other words, we're gonna have two hands on him by the center, one hand by each guard. Okay, so we're blasting him off the line, and then the back's gonna cut tight. Whichever way, he's got a two-way go there. Whichever way he feels is the easiest lane to run through. And quarterback's reading the four technique.
So does that slot back have that linebacker?
Okay. It's going right there like that. And on this, because it's a 50, we don't have to call max, but we could do this right here and let him come through to block safety, or whoever crosses that plane right there. Okay? But this guy really has to come down hard. So that's a pretty easy read right there. Okay? He has to come down hard to get that, especially if you widen him out. So that's a real good way. Like if you're trying to run inside veer and that four technique slanting real hard, this is a real good complement because you don't have to block him. He could slant real hard. You don't have to block him. He's not getting in the tackle's way because the tackle's going outside on the 7 technique. He's got leverage already established just by alignment. Okay, this is the hardest block right here because if that guy's slanting, we gotta be able to step here and be able to get on that guy if he's really coming down hard.
So are the X and Y and are the two wide receivers, are they doing the same things they are in the triple where they're running them off? Or what are they doing?
You can make up the rules, but if this guy has outside leverage, there's nothing wrong with him going in here and trying to get a block because this guy's a outside force and flat player.
Right.
Okay? And the ball's gonna be run if the quarterback gets it right up in here, so it's not, and if he's playing man-to-man, you're gonna wanna run him off just to get him out of there,
Yeah.
okay? So yeah, we can use the same rules. I think I called it trail blocking. Okay, if we're playing man-to-man, we're running him off. If he's playing cover 3, we're stopping him. If he's pressing with outside leverage, then we're gonna crack.
What's the possibility of that tackle actually getting the fullback?
Which tackle? This guy?
Yep.
Real possible, if you got a good one. But if we like to run this play to put the ball in the quarterback's hands. Most of the time when we're running this play, we're trying to get it to the quarterback. Now, it's an option, so the quarterback has to read it. But we want them to take our dive away. So if I want the fullback to run, I'm probably gonna run something else. We've had some big runs. We were playing St. Ignatius when Hoying was the quarterback. He scored on the first play of the game on a 70-yard bomb, and I was like, we're gonna get killed. And we ran the midline the first play with a sophomore fullback who was pretty fast, and no one came down, and he split everybody and ran about 70 yards for a touchdown, and the game was on right there. So it can be a big play, but more often than not, the quarterback's getting the ball. So, I mean, I can draw up any other front you want.
So what do you do? Yeah. How about 3 down linemen?
Okay, like a bear front.
Sure.
Talking about this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if somebody runs I call it a bear front. Okay. Somebody runs that front right there. We're going to run this play, and we're going to run trap, and they're going to not stay in it very long. Okay. Okay. So the rule's not any different gonna hinge here. Okay, now, when this guy's covered, he's got him with inside leverage. This guy's going here, he's delivering him, going backside backer, okay? He's going here, okay? We're reading this guy's got this guy, and if you wanna bring him, he's coming up through here like that. We're running these guys off. So it's a great play against that, because we can get these splits. They think they got defense in there, and we can't run it in there, but we're saying we got all kinds of people in there, and we don't have to block one of your guys. So I always start with this guy, get him hinging, get him blocking the number 2 guy on the line of scrimmage. Okay, and then you can figure out who else you gotta go with it. The center blocks man on the backside, and the guard's always blocking back. So this guy blocks man on to inside. So
Okay, let's go back to that combo block and then, so who's going to the backside line there? The
play side guard. We want him to step flat. We want him to get one hand on that nose, deliver him, strike a hard blow, and deliver him to the center. He's going to hit him with 2 hands. Okay. Now we have to take our backside guard and block that 3 technique, because that's an impossible block. We try to never ask anybody to do something that's not possible. We wouldn't ask our tackle to try to get that 3 technique. The only little bit of a kink in the armor here is if they do this right here, we don't really have anybody to take that. So we have done this where we come up with a tag, I don't even remember what it was, but we would put this guy in motion, okay, and let him block right in here, fill that hole right there. Okay, but you just got to see what they're trying to do to you. You don't want to have one size fits all. I mean, each week's a different week. People are going to try to defend you different ways each week. You can kind of use a little imagination to try to get these guys where they need to be. So
One thing is as simple as I thought it was. Obviously, it's not as simple for me as it is for you. But you're doing a lot more week-to-week game planning than we are, because we're not, doesn't make it the end of the world, but it is interesting here because you're changing 10 max, for example, week to week conceivably.
But I'm not, I never really change what the front 5 guys do. I'm not ever trying to give them a bunch of rules to remember. Okay, if I'm gonna change something, I'm gonna stick around with these guys, because I only have to change 1 or 2 guys to make that whole play be just a little bit different, okay? And those guys, if you get a smart guy and teach them, come up with a couple tags, call it 10 max, call this 10 fill, I don't care what you call it, okay? 10 plug, I don't care. Okay, come up with a word, and those guys know what those words mean, and you're at halftime and you haven't ever even worked on this play, but you think it's going to be a good adjustment at halftime. You say, remember when we ran 10 plug? Well, this is what I want you to do. You don't really have to work on it that much, Once they understand the term and what you're trying to do with that particular block, then you can do that. But you don't have to say, okay, offensive line, we're going to change everything we're doing. That's why it's important that we communicate different terminology for the front, so when the front changes, it's just second nature to our guy to know who their blocks are. Okay.
So how would it change if essentially the 2 3s, if they had 3, like a 3-4, those 2 3s weren't there and they were linebackers? Do your rules change?
Well, that was the one he just did previously.
Did I miss? Okay.
I mean, that was a 50 front, but what you're saying is, you're saying you want this right here, okay? and we put a backer out here, right?
Right,
Nothing changes. When I get a guy back off here like this, okay, we know we're reading that guy, right? We know we're hinging here, okay? So what's this guy supposed to do? Well, what I tell him to do, if you don't have a clear vision, maybe this guy's even tucked away back in here like this, okay?
Right.
I just tell him to set pass. Set pass. This guy has to come down. And that kind of opens the window, and then I go get him, okay? If that guy doesn't come down, what happens? Fullback's getting the ball,
Mhm.
right,
okay? So that's fine if he don't come down,
right.
all right? So,
I guess my question is so, also, in addition to that is, so take your backer there, so if on this, if before the snap, he moves, well, I was thinking the end up there, so because he's over the guard. So
This guy?
So if that guy shows before the play, does that change?
Drop down?
Yeah. Does
Okay,
that now
but-
become the read guy, and then your rules change, like is there?
that's a good question, because we've done it a couple different ways, but the way I would do it is I would say, okay, we're gonna make a backer call. If the backer walks up, now, if he's back and we think he's blitzing, we're gonna just keep it normal.
Okay.
But if he walks up and is just standing there like this,
Yeah.
we're just gonna make a backer call. He knows that he's not reading them. He's gonna do the same thing, okay, that he's been doing. I mean, he knows he's not blocking him. We're gonna read him. Backer call just tells that guy to get that right there.
Okay.
It's a little tougher now though, because you got a 4 technique that you're trying to get, you know. But again, that's why they play defense. You know, they always have an answer for this stuff.
Okay.
You got to be able to adjust.
Right.
So, but that's a good question. Okay, now
So the adjustment long term would be call a different play, perhaps.
it just depends on how big your splits are, how much. You know, this guy might, if they did that, this guy might be in a 5,
Right.
or maybe the 4 doesn't come down hard.
Right.
I can't really tell you what they're going to do. When,
Yeah.
You know, every time we run the midline, it doesn't always break and become a good play. In fact, a lot of times it gets jammed up. But it's a great play to have because it's a compliment. You said you thought it complimented the trap, but it's really a compliment to the inside veer. I found it to complement the inside veer. When the inside veer is having some trouble, from the midline, we didn't really run the midline as much as we should have this year. I put a few on the tape, and you can see our athleticism's not that great, okay? But we had some success running with our quarterback.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he ripped off a couple of big
I mean, and when it breaks, we could run through there. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, Coach.
No, I'm just saying. When it breaks, we could run through there. Now, the biggest thing is this quarterback, okay, he has to get separation off the line here, okay? And then he has to go this way first. If he tries to go up in there, it's gonna get all jammed up and you're gonna be real frustrated. So it takes a lot of work to get that part. That's probably the hardest thing to work on. Second hardest thing is trying to get this guy. If this guy slants, then we just treat him like a 3. Go ahead and block him. Go ahead and hinge him. And if we have to, we'll plug him. Okay? So, but those are minor adjustments. Tackle just says, I can't get that 4 technique. He's just flying out.
X him.
You know? I'm sorry.
X him 2 up in.
We don't do a lot of that because that's stuff that takes extra time to work on. We could.
We call it fold.
So, yeah, we could.
Most teams try to do to stop him.
Yeah. So, you know, it just depends on how much stuff you want to work on.
Now, why did you choose not to have the third option? And if you did, was it just simply
Well, because first of all, think of it, most of the time. Okay, let's look at this defense. Most of the time, we work on inside veer. And most of the time, that third option is who we're already optioning anyhow. You know what I'm saying? So we option this guy and this guy on 32. The inside view, well, that's the same guys we would option if we were running trip wide midline. So I mean, you know, I'm not saying you can't do it, but
Well, but when you bury your slot back, you don't really have the edge blocked right.
you don't have, you wouldn't do that when you're running triple. Okay, so there's just, if we were running triple, we would probably block it different. I don't want to get into that right now
Sure.
because I haven't done it that much lately, and I didn't really study it before I came. I think it would just confuse everything.
Sure.
But the big thing is, like, what I like to run, I'll just do this little tidbit.
So Durazio loves this play. Why does Durazio love this play?
Because they had a quarterback one time named Tony Borghese, and he was at the sales.
He'd make you pretty good, wouldn't
Kid looked like a 7th grader when he was a senior, but he was the cockiest little guy I've ever seen. And he ran crazy with that play. So and then we had a couple other guys that did it. And if you make a commitment to it, then you know it's going to be a good play in your repertoire. But let's say I want to run midline triple. Let's say I got this formation right here. Okay. I like to run midline triple OT. So we would call this 19 instead of 11. Okay. But what ended up happening would be something like, we don't end up blocking this guy because we figure we're trying to get outside, and even though it's a triple, we're trying to get outside. So here's the dive read, here's the pitch read. We're trying to pitch off of this guy, and whoever's out here, okay, OT just means we're arcing the tackle, okay, and we're out pitching off of that right there. That's the way I like to run it. But there's a ton of different ways that you can do it. So that gives you a weak side play where you can run a triple option and still have enough people to block everybody. A lot of times when they have that, you know, they'll either drop the safety down over this guy or they'll have no mic. So you could have it this way. Like that, if they're going to roll their safety down,